They were apparently getting ready to take a bus to get ready to celebrate Shabbat. A short time ago, I spoke to Eli Ber, the president and founder of United Hatzalah, who himself lives nearby and is still in shock over this tragedy.
Well, it's a terrible scene of an entire family who were hurt from this terrible terrorist attack who just ran into them. Many of the family members are injured, and they're all now in different hospitals in Jerusalem. The little boy, unfortunately, we were trying to save his life on the spot. This actually happened in Jerusalem, in the heart of Jerusalem, in the neighborhood of Ramot, right next to my house. And this is not the first terrorist attack that we have in this neighborhood, which we're right on the borders of the outskirts of Jerusalem. This family that was standing in the bus stop waiting for a bus to go for Shabbat. Lots of them are just in different hospitals now in different conditions. Some of them in serious conditions. A lot of people are emotionally traumatized. We are treating a lot of people. The psychotrauma team of United Hatzalah are now treating people who are just devastated and just very hard for them to deal with what they saw. They saw members of their family who were injured. They saw people who were waiting with them on the bus stop. The bus stop was full of people, and the terrorists just came towards them, driving really quick, straight into them. Tried killing as much as he could, killing as much Israelis as he could. It was a devastating scene. Scene with little children with Shabbat clothing, with talits. You saw people, talits are spread all around. It was a very sad scene. They had people with their Shabbat shtreimels who were laying on the sides of the road. Most of these people who take buses are people who cannot afford cars, so they have the whole family with them waiting for a bus to go for Shabbat. This direction goes towards Modi'in and towards other cities outside of Jerusalem. Devastating Erev Shabbat for all of us.
It is so devastating. And can you explain a little bit more, because this is the first we're hearing that it was one family. Are all of the victims part of the same family, or the injured part of the same family as the boy who was killed?
It looks like that. I can't say exact details because a lot of the family members, I'm getting phone calls every minute from different family members, but it seems like a lot of them are from the same family that were waiting on the bus together. They were literally one next to each other when the terrorists ran into the bus stop. They had other people there as well, not from the same family, but before Shabbat, you could see bus stops full of people waiting for the buses with their children, little babies. Had a pregnant woman there. She's in the hospital now in a trauma room in Hadassah. We transferred a young man to the hospital in really serious conditions. We were really shocked from the scene that we saw, seeing one terrorist able to hurt so many people. And this terrorist knew that Erev Shabbat, that's the time that he could catch everyone on the bus stop. It's like Sunday morning when the soldiers are going to the army. Same thing, Erev Shabbat. The families are going for Shabbat. And this is, unfortunately, a terrible beginning of a Friday afternoon where it's usually so happy. Everyone's so happy to go for Shabbat. And this is sad for all of us here in Israel.
I can't imagine. I mean, I know in your job have seen it all, and clearly this is something that has really impacted you on such a personal level. It's so hard to be able to be objective while you're performing life-saving measures when something so terrible happens. What are your concerns as a resident of this neighborhood? This is a serious concern.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I was having Shabbat dinner with my family, and every one of my members of my family are a volunteer in United Hatzalah. We're sitting in Shabbat dinner, having dinner, and all of a sudden we get a Hatzalah emergency call of a shooting in a synagogue right next door. We're in Ramot. Neve Yaakov is very close to here.
The terrorist, identified as Hossein Karaka, was a 31-year-old resident of the Isawiya neighborhood of East Jerusalem who rammed into the bus stop. He is said to have been neutralized. We don't have any more details as of now, but we have Jonathan Regev on the phone. He is taking in all of the information. What could you tell us as far as new developments, Jonathan?
the newest development is that Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Minister of National Security, is now on the site. We discussed a lot about it. I think that many of the people we saw, we already heard in the last hour that there are protesters calling death terrorists. I think they might be starting losing patience specifically with Itamar Ben-Gvir. Let's remember, if we're looking for a reason why Itamar Ben-Gvir was so successful in the election campaign and what landed him eventually in the seat of Minister of National Security is the promise to fight terrorism, to find solutions for terrorism, which, according to him, were not found in the previous government. He's been in his post for 5-6 weeks, and already we're seeing a lot of terrorist acts. The 2 people killed today, added to the 7 killed 2 weeks ago. All of this under his watch. Where are the solutions? Is preventing pita bread from prisoners a move that justified or unjustified? That's not the issue. Is this the way to bring security? Looking at the results, the answer is no.
Right. Also, as far as we spoke to the paramedics, Eli Bear, and he was saying that they were members of one family. Have you been able to get any other details?
That's as far as we're hearing. Members of one family. We just heard from the men. From the men speaking before me. Ramot is a neighborhood that got more and more Orthodox in recent years. And we can assume that the people waiting at the bus station were there heading for Shabbat. Therefore, they're from the same families, same communities. We do not know exactly the identities of the victims at this moment, so unclear if they're all from one family. But we can assume usually there are lots of families together, so we can assume that many of those injured and even killed come from the same circles, let's call it this way.
Also, you mentioned earlier when this news was breaking, Eli Bear, who was the founder of United Hatzalah, is actually from the neighborhood nearby, said it was just a few blocks from where he lives. This terrorist was able to, had plates that were legal, was able to get there freely. What does this mean as far as, the fact that these 2 neighborhoods are so close together, there is no barrier of any kind? What do you have to say about that?
Israeli politicians, there's one mantra that they love to say all the time, that Jerusalem is the eternal and undivided capital of Israel. It may be true, the city is undivided, but it comes with a price, and a rather heavy price, as much as we're seeing, because East Jerusalemites, they're Israeli residents. Israel made it a point of making sure that they are Israelis, annexing that area practically to Israel, meaning that everyone in East Jerusalem is an Israeli resident, with freedom to move anywhere they want in the Jewish neighborhoods in Jerusalem or anywhere else in Israel, with Israeli license plates and Israeli blue IDs, Israeli IDs. I remember in one of the previous violent waves in 2015, I believe it was, the mayor then was Nir Barkat, who's today the Minister of Economy and a member of the Likud party of Benjamin Netanyahu. Back then, he put a little concrete wall separating one Jewish neighborhood from an Arab neighborhood, and he was strongly criticized because it was actually performing some kind of a division of Jerusalem, and that is something that the politicians here do not want to do. So if you want freedom of movement for East Jerusalemites, this might be a price to pay, unfortunately.
Right, especially, with this new government, more things happening, from the judicial standpoint this week. How is this incident, even though we've had others, almost seems like every week, going to play into this transition and what's happening internally and politically?
I'm not sure it will have any effect on the judicial reform that the government is planning. They're planning to continue with it. The other side planning to...
Jonathan Regev, thank you very much. We're going to